So I'm about an hour into the journey, roughly, just past Wolverhampton. Just stopped by this services here. Nothing's open in there. It's about 5:45 in the morning, except the trusty Costa coffee. I was able to down an espresso and get some juice. So a lot of motorway to go. Should be crossing into Scotland around, I believe the border is around Gretna Green. But there is definitely a very special services that I want to stop at. I think it's on the way up towards Carlisle, but more about that a bit later. And time to put some fuel in the tank and hit the road again. So we're making quite good progress on this journey up to Scotland, and this is the services that I wanted to include in this video. Is this perhaps the best services anywhere in the UK? I can't say for certain because I haven't visited them all, but the amazing thing about this Tebby services is it's a farm shop services. They have a wonderful farm shop in there. All the food is from their farm shop. And I was up here visiting Carlisle back in April and had the opportunity to stop off here. I think I might have got pie and chips or something at the time. So yeah, this services is one that I wanted to highlight in the video. Tebby services, if you can see it on the sign there. That's why I've just pulled off in the hard shoulder to show you the sign. A little bit iffy getting back on the motorway, but it's not the world's busiest motorway. Certainly not the most busiest section of the M6, so we should be alright. Just got to watch out for any debris on the hard shoulder, that's all. Go. Thank you. So we'll stop here. I actually really need to stop here because I did get some fuel at the last place, but I'm going to probably get a coffee and a cake or something to eat here while I'm here. So it won't be a waste of time. Yeah, we've made pretty good progress. We're just about past the Lake District now, heading up towards Carlisle, and making fairly steady progress. We're heading up to just past Glasgow to a village called Glengoyne, where I'm hoping to do some whiskey tasting, a little bit of whiskey tasting. I should have got down there. Certainly I'm not going to be able to take big swigs, so I've got to be compass mentis on the bike, but I have got a hip flask with me in case I need to empty my glasses into the hip flask. So this is absolutely wonderful, this services. Let's go and check it out. I'll show you a bit of the inside as well. Bonnie, Scotland. I'm already struck by the beauty, and we're only in the lowlands. We're about, I think, about 40 miles from Glasgow-ish. Just had to drop my glove there, didn't I? We've got a services coming up in about 2 and a bit miles, 3 miles. So I thought this would be a good point to roll the camera in just to show a little bit of the lowlands and the Clyde River up there. And I'm also in need of refueling, so this is going to be my third time so far that I'm putting fuel in the tank, although they've not been full tanks. Like even there it's like just below half. I've just been keeping them topped up, keeping it topped up so to speak, but also finding that myself getting rather a sore backside after about an hour and a half of riding. But I think it's probably a good habit to get into on this trip, is not to let the fuel run too low, because when I'm up in the Highlands from tomorrow onwards, you're not blessed with the luxury of an overabundance of petrol stations. That's what I've been told anyway, just fill up wherever you get the chance. So. Yeah, on the whole pretty good, and not as cold as I thought it was going to be, because I was starting to feel cold. Did have to switch to my winter gloves and put an extra layer on. Let's just get some fuel. So we're just on the outskirts of Glasgow here, the final stretch to the distillery, and just under 10 minutes I make it. So I thought I would just film the approach to the distillery. Not far outside of Glasgow, and already we have this beautiful Scottish countryside, and I've got to say it is a relief to be finally off the motorway and out of Glasgow centre. I was pleasantly surprised to end up riding through Glasgow, and I was able to film a couple of segments of that, including going through the Clyde Tunnel, and but yeah, it's a relief to now finally be in this Scottish countryside, and this is just a taste of what's to come, and lots more of this over the coming days. Wow, look at this. This is beautiful. So there we are, Glengoyne Distillery. That is precisely where we're heading, and I look forward to wetting the whistle a little, although I'm going to have to sip very small portions in order to remain compos mentis for the final leg of this bike journey, about an hour and 15 or so. But I have got a little hip flask to sneak a little bit of what I can't drink into the hip flask. I don't know if that's going to look like bad manners or something, but we'll see. Here we are. This is our place. Bit of overspill parking now. There's quite a lot of people here today. Looks like this could be quite a popular tour. I think I feel fairly okay about leaving my bike in this car park. Although I may lock it just to feel a little bit more confident. Here we go. So we're just on the approaches to Loch Lomond, and the weather here is incredible up in Scotland. I had to take off the extra layer that I'd put on in miserable England where it was raining and cold, because it was just too warm. Of course it is a bit later in the day, it's about 2:30. Just heading by the Loch Lomond for a short stop there before going over to my hotel, and then sampling one of those whiskey samples I got from the distillery there. Distillery tasting that I just enjoyed. Apparently, had I been a couple of days later, I could have actually done the distillery tour. So they're in the, I think they call it the sleepy season or resting season or whatever the term is, quiet season, where the water is lower, and so the distillery tours are put on hold, but that period has just come to an end, and but never mind, I actually thoroughly enjoyed that tasting experience. I say tasting in inverted commas because as soon as the lady found out that I was riding a bike, she would not let me actually taste anything. I did see if I could persuade her to let me just wet my tongue, but she was quite strict on that, which is fine, and rightly so, I guess. Lovely lady called Lorna, very knowledgeable, and taught me through the I think the 10-year-old, the 12-year-old, 15-year-old, the cask strength, and another one which I can't remember, 20-year-old possibly. And she did allow me to smell the whiskies, and she also showed me how to do the proper swill in the glass, and she did give me all of the tasting samples to take away, so 3 plus a little extra one she gave me, and then I actually bought a slightly larger size, but not a normal size, a small bottle of whiskey from the store there, as well as a t-shirt, Glengoyne t-shirt. So Glengoyne Distillery, I recommend it. Apparently when they talk about flavours of digestive biscuits or chocolate or vanilla or cinnamon when they're smelling or tasting whiskey, apparently that is a real thing. They really can smell or taste those things. I thought it was all a bit of a joke, but no, Lorna assures me that that's a real thing, and but apparently no two people are necessarily gonna smell or taste the exact same things. I did take the opportunity to ask her a little bit about water, mixing water with whiskey, and what she thought about that. And she said that there are some that don't. There are some that don't mix cask strength with water. There are some that will only mix cask strength, and there are some that will mix any whiskey with water. So it seems like it's a bit of a mixed bag. There's no real rules as such there, though she did say that you know, the pros that are mixing water with whiskey, they will perhaps just add a few drops, to your cask strength, which is interesting. And she likened it to like when you mow the lawn and it rains, you get all of the aromas coming out of the grass. Or what was the other analogy? Releasing the oils. So that was a learning curve for me. Another learning curve was that Glengoyne, they own Rosebank, which I thought was a defunct distillery. Turns out it was just a mothball distillery, and so the name has kind of been brought back from the dead, and it's still going, which is good news, because I had, here we are, Loch Lomond and the Trossachs. I actually had a bottle of Rosebank, which predated the mothballing of the original distillery, and I was able to sell that bottle at auction for a profit, along with a Port Ellen and a few other rare bottles. I have been in the past somewhat of a collector of whiskey, an amateur, very much an amateur, but probably my best result was picking up a bottle of Port Ellen, one in transit through Singapore, and then for about £80 or something, and some 15 years later, oh, here's the Loch Lomond, whoa! I'll finish my story, selling that for 10 times the price, around £800-900. So, we're here at Loch Lomond now. I just caught a glimpse of the water. Apparently it's the largest body of freshwater in the UK by surface area. I'll have to double check. I think there is another loch that's got the most amount of water through depth. Wow, just wonderful to be here, actually. Especially now that this weather is really deciding to be friendly to me. To close this video, I'll leave you with some stunning footage of the landscape between Loch Lomond and my hotel, the Thistle House Guest House, overlooking Loch, Fyne and Inverary Castle. The hotel owners were very warm and welcoming, and even the little bird that lived in the bush popped out to greet and welcome me. I've got to say, this is the perfect hotel room here at the Thistle House, and look at this view on the loch there. And after what was, I believe, my longest ever day of biking from Warwickshire to Loch Lomond and beyond, I think I've earned myself a well-deserved rest, and this is the perfect room for it.